So Matt Rhule's back in the news cycle, Joe. Our old Fred, our old Panthers head coach, now at Nebraska. Pete Thamel at ESPN. It's on ESPN Plus, so I didn't read the whole thing because I don't have ESPN Plus, or I haven't unlocked it. Maybe I have it. I just don't know. But really, what new am I going to get out of a Matt Rhule profile at Nebraska? Let me guess. He doesn't take accountability for what happened in the Carolina Panthers, even though he was paid, $60 million or whatever it was to be the coach of the Panthers. But somehow, some way, he was just against all these obstacles that he just couldn't overcome. If he just had more time, Joe, or if they just listened to what he wanted to do, maybe things could have been different. But I believe the quote was, I have to go pull it up, but I believe the quote was that his experience with the Panthers was like a purifying fire. Did I read that right?
Yes. Yes. Matt Rhule was a terrible NFL coach.
Yeah.
And if you were paying attention to the signs beforehand, then you would have known that he was going to be a terrible NFL coach. In part because he liked to bring all the people from Baylor and Temple with him, as if he was still playing against Baylor and Temple's schedule. You might say, well, Joe, that's just not fair. Because at Baylor, he went 11-3. Don't you remember? Of course. Everybody wanted Matt Rhule.
That was the
fair enough. The Giants wanted Matt Rhule. That's true. 11-3. So first year, the rule under Rhule was you burn it down the first year. 1-11 at Baylor. 7-6 year two. You show that big improvement. You get everybody excited. And then year three, in fairness, in year three at both Temple and Baylor, he won double-digit games. Okay, that is an accomplishment. But then you start looking at those numbers and you're going, well, who did he really beat at Baylor? His record against teams with a winning record that year. Let's throw out 1-11. I don't even care about 1-11.
Basically, focus on the year that everybody points to after the teardown. Like, here's the turnaround. Here's where they're successful. This is where Matt Rhule sells his vision.
So he goes 7-6, and you're like, wow, they went 7-6. 0-4 against top 25 teams. 1-6 against teams with a winning record.
Yeah.
You go 11-3. You're like, well, it's a little bit better, right? Yeah, sure enough. They went 4-3 against teams that finished with a winning record. 0-3, though, against top 25 teams. So I'll ask you, has anyone ever milked more out of doing less than Matt Rhule? Because, and I know people want to scream about this, but Temple was a terrible job. Yes, Temple was a terrible job before Al Golden got there. The subsequent coaches all had relative success. Yes, Temple was once so bad that they were kicked out of the Big East. Yes, look it up. But the truth of the matter is the program had been rebuilt by Al Golden.
There's a reason why Al Golden was a hot name for a while.
And was the coach at Miami because of his success at Temple. Fine. Also, Rhule is the reason. Golden, a former Penn State football player, is the reason that Rhule, a former Penn State football player, was given the job at Temple. Okay. But again, tore it down, had the success, goes and takes the Baylor job. Baylor, you'll remember, was scandal rocked by Art Briles and all of the multiple very real issues that happened at Baylor.
But what did Art Briles do before all that?
But before all of that, Art Briles turned Baylor, very similar to Temple, small private school, into a legitimate power. Okay. Unlike Temple, Baylor is in the state of Texas. And I will argue with you till the end of time that the reason the schools in North Carolina are the way that the schools in North Carolina are is because there's not enough players to go to feed all of the teams who want to be good in this state. But most of the teams in this state get just enough good players to kind of prevent one team from being a superpower. Not the case in the state of Texas. There are stacks on stacks on stacks of players in Texas. And the proof of this is Baylor being good, SMU being good, Texas Tech being good. I don't know what Texas's freaking problem is, but I can't solve all of the world's issues right here on this podcast. I would just say to you, the talent is such in the state of Texas that if you're competent, and I'm not suggesting that Matt Rhule's not competent, I'm just suggesting he's not great.
Yeah, I don't think
that you can win at a school like Baylor. And fair enough, he did.
Yeah.
But I just want you to look again at what he actually did at Baylor. He really didn't actually beat anybody good.
No, and that's a good chunk of college coaching is based on beating up on teams you know you can beat. And again, I don't want to completely dismiss Matt Rhule because there is something to be said for taking care of business against teams you should be taking care of.
And he could not do that with the Panthers. That was the one thing he could not do.
But let's separate college and pros. Okay. Because, Urban Meyer found himself in that same situation. We've talked about that ad nauseum, right?
Okay.
Where
they were different. They're different.
But they're different, but same in that you don't have the ability to schedule your way into a great season in the NFL.
Right.
Everybody's on the same level as you. So therefore, your ability to actually coach matters. You don't have to be a rah guy. Matt Rhule is a rah guy. And this is the part that starts to bother me. Rather than just admitting that, look, my place is in college. There's nothing wrong with that. You can make a lot of money as a college coach in this era. All right. Just look around. What was James Franklin making at Penn State? Could he make that in the NFL right now as a rookie head coach? No. So Matt Rhule is set, man, at Nebraska because all that Big Ten money that's rolling in. But then he says stuff like this. This is from the Thamel piece that he had tweeted out. Going through the fire in Carolina was a purifying fire that melts away all the impurities, all the hubris, all the worrying about stuff that doesn't matter. I learned very much to worry about what matters. I have a focus and a desire in me. I watched what my kids had to go through in Carolina, and we're not going to let them go through that here. Well, what's he referencing exactly? What did his kids go through?
Well, when you go to school and people tell you that your dad sucks.
Okay, so what do you think that's going to be like in Nebraska?
Well, he's very confident that he's going to.
No, I'm sorry.
Well, now this all ties back to the first segment then. Where Nebraska is right now, are they going to be happy at 10-3?
Well, here's my question.
Are they?
Here's the question.
If they get there.
The piece that I thought was interesting in that Matt Rhule doesn't view it as a rebuilding project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I agree. They had some lousy football luck this year.
You've got two.
Let's just call it puck luck since I like it when you say that.
You got two college football coaches going into the season that are going to be taking all the air out of the room for different reasons. Okay. You got Deion Sanders at Colorado and you got Matt Rhule at Nebraska. But they're taking the air out of the room for two reasons.
Can't wait till they play. Oh, that's wrong ear.
Yeah, wrong ear.
Speaking of my mindsets.
Deion Sanders is going to be taking the air out of the room because the camera loves Deion and Deion loves the camera. And he's an amazing salesman for Deion Sanders.
Right.
And there's a reason why Colorado is going to find itself in some primetime games because people want to see the Deion Sanders experiment. I get the attraction. What I don't get with Matt Rhule is how reporters find themselves gravitating to him. This is where I need you to explain to me like I'm 5 because I've never worked a beat. All right. And there's a different dynamic between.
Well, they do play each other September 9th.
Okay. Well, that'll be interesting.
Non-conference.
So, yeah, I didn't have the schedule in front of me. So this is what I need for you to explain to me. What is it about Matt Rhule that brings out these types of pieces from national writers? It almost feels like access journalism at this point. When you're on, like when you worked NC State beat for the News and Observer, you got a different Dave Dorn than what the national Dave Dorn was, right? And the TV guys are getting a different Dave Dorn than what we get in terms of a Dave Dorn. I'll never say that about Mac Brown because Mac Brown is Mac Brown every single time. It doesn't matter if he's talking to us. It doesn't matter if he's talking to a national guy. It doesn't matter if he's talking to a recruit. Mac Brown's Mac Brown. He's a pro's pro. There's a reason why everybody loves Mac Brown. But I see this oftentimes where people want to play the national and just assume that local will be behind you. But I'm telling you right now, if that rebuild stuff happens at Nebraska, they'll be patient in year 1, but they better see that turn around in year 2. Otherwise, they're going to come after you because the expectations at Nebraska have never diminished, even though we understand.
They burned Scott Frost,
right?
Native son, at the stake.
So if you think you went through a purifying fire with an apathetic NFL town, what do you think it's going to be like at Nebraska, dude?
Yeah.
That's the part that I find funny. But Matt Rhule is a college coach. And if you need further proof that he's a college coach and how this stuff will probably play in college.
This clip is one of my all-time favorites. Yes. I still don't understand what he's trying to say. There's a lot of psychedelic in this.
There's a scene. This is at a Senior Bowl, and he gives.
This is after his first year with the Panthers. He is now the coach at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, and the headline for this YouTube is Matt Rhule gives great speech to top NFL draft talent at the Senior Bowl.
I mean, you're coachable, right? Like some guys, you say something to them, and they're like, they want to argue. They go, "Yes, sir, that's not coachable," and I do not want to coach that guy. Like if you're not out here and every play you don't want to be coached. Like, if every play you're not trying to get better, okay? Saying yes, sir, does not mean you're coachable. Look at someone in the eye, having like football conversations with me means you're coachable. If every play you're perfect, then we don't need to be at this game. Okay, you should be coached on every play. I hope you respect the fact that the coaching staff is trying to coach you on every play. A lot of coaching staffs might have come out here and been like, man, let's just evaluate these players. We're trying to coach you. So get all that out of your system. I know your college coach was nice to you or something. Like, I don't care. Like, let's freaking work at each other. The harder you get coached, the more we have to then coach, and you'll get better. So let's try to get 9 on 7.
Hold on. We got to hear that.
The harder you get coached,
let's hear it again.
You'll get better. So let's try to get 9 on 7, punt, and then team. We have to then coach. The harder you get coached, the more we have to then coach.
He totally lied. And you know what though? I feel it, man. Sometimes I get worked up. No, I get worked up. I'm not going to knock him. I'm not going to knock him. Oh, by the way,
I'm going to knock him because
I think it's hilarious. Oh, look at that. It looks like the algorithm was working at some point in time as Matt Rhule, one of our old videos, ended up having like 6,000 views. Anyway,
just so far over his skis in every single situation. Other than playing Texas San Antonio.
I get where Matt, like that's relatable for me and Matt Rhule. You get so worked up. You think you're making this great point. Then you just kind of lose your words. Your mouth is moving at a pace that's faster than your brain,
you
Joe.
cut it off before the best part of that whole video.
And what was that?
Because he talks, it begins with, don't just say yes, sir.
Oh, and then and
then when he's getting ready to break, they all say, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Anyway, I need.
Keep in mind, this is an old clip that we absolutely clowned when it came out.
It did, yeah.
The year it came out. We have been right about Matt Rhule every single step of the way.
Yes.
So, do I think Nebraska will go 7-5 this year? Absolutely. I think they'll have a winning record.
Sure.
He'll tell you how great he is.
Yeah.
Next year, they might even get to 10 wins. Maybe. I haven't looked at their schedule. I don't know. Because I do think Nebraska, Louisville, those are programs that have motivated fan bases. They have money. They have an invested community that I think can have success in the NIL era.
Okay.
Those are programs I absolutely do believe in.